The sun and moon are the biggest luminaries in the night sky. They play a central role in many myths across the world. Yet, in the tarot deck, they're numbered 18 and 19, positioned almost at the very end of the deck. If you'd ask most people, they'd probably associate the sun and moon as the numbers 1 and 2, or at least as the numbers 12 and 13, as in the 12-month solar year and the 13th-month lunar year. The moon and sun have an astonishing number of links to the numbers 18 and 19, mostly mathematical properties that are connected to the eclipses, which represent the marriage of the sun and moon. The numbers 18 and 19 are also connected to the solar and lunar years. But first, let's look at one of the sun and moon's most popular myths, the ancient Egyptian myth of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. The myth of Osiris speaks of the interwoven lives of father and son, how father and son are one and the same. Briefly, this is the story of Osiris, who's murdered twice by his evil brother Set and his gang of co-conspirators. After Set's first attempt at getting rid of Osiris, the wife of Osiris, Isis, finds his body in a tree, and then magically nurses him back to life. After Set's second attempt, where the body of Osiris has been dismembered, Isis puts his body back together so that she could conceive their son, Horus. Horus later grows up in the shadow of his defeated and castrated father. With the help of the moon god Thoth, Horus does battle with Set, and eventually defeats him, to then become his own father, Osiris. And so the Osiris story begins again, forever looping on itself. The movie Back to the Future is a perfect example of this forever looping Osirian drama. Marty actually bears the name of the god Horus, but the Roman version of Horus. The Greeks and Romans equated Horus with their own gods of war. The Greeks called him Ares, and the Roman called him Mars. The Latin word Mars is where the name Marty comes from. Marty literally is Mars, the planet of aggression, war, ambition, and drive. Just like Ares and Horus, Mars is an archetype that's deeply connected to the sun. The sun that rises in the east and rides high across the sky during the day, and then sets in the west, where it begins its journey through the dark underworld. The underworld's the realm of the subconscious, the realm of the underground, the realm of the past, the lunar realm, where the solar hero must go to do battle with the forces of evil, so that he could ultimately reconnect with the deeper roots of his own being. In the very ancient prehistoric Egyptian past, before Osiris became a solar god, Osiris was a lunar god, a god of the subconscious, symbolized in the movie by the oceanic god of the Greek subconscious, Poseidon. It would seem at first glance that Back to the Future is a story of the solar powers of the conscious mind overcoming the lunar powers of the subconscious mind. But really, the movie tells us that the solar must integrate the lunar as much as the lunar must integrate the solar, so that they could basically become one and the same. This reciprocal process was known to the ancient mystery seekers as the alchemical marriage, where the conscious mind and the subconscious mind come together as one. In Back to the Future's present day, 1985, when the story begins, we find a solar, extroverted Marty, who's overcompensating for his weak father. As much as he seeks to escape his father's fate, his compensational surplus of power brings him nonetheless into reliving his father's patterns of self-sabotage. To break the pattern, he has to dive deep within his own past, deep within his own genetic self, deep within his family tree, to face the demons that are being passed down through his bloodline. On the other side of the equation, we find the compliant and docile George, a lunar being who's beginning to empower himself by integrating Marty's solar energies. Never in the story, though, does George ever stop being lunar, or Marty stop being solar. Instead, both integrate each other's energies. Doc also learns to balance these solar and lunar energies. Initially, Doc plays the role of Thoth, the Egyptian lunar god of science, mathematics, and writing, but ends up adopting the solar role of Hermes, the Greek god of science, mathematics, and writing. Also known as the psychopomp, the messenger god who guides mortals into communication with higher truths. In the end, all three characters, Marty, George, and Doc, have each in their own way performed the alchemical marriage of the sun and moon. Traditionally, in alchemy, the subconscious mind is equated with the female, and the conscious mind with the male. The coming together of both female and male, like the coming together of the moon and sun, creates the child, or the eclipse. One single eclipse year contains 346.63 days, a number that could be arrived at by multiplying 18.618 by 18.618. As for the different families of eclipses, there's the famous 19-year Metonic cycle, which could be calculated by multiplying 19 by 18.618 by 19.618. And there's the Saros cycle, lasting 18 years, arrived at by multiplying 19 by 18.618 by 18.618. The moon's nodes, also related to the eclipses, have a revolution of 18.6 years and move along the zodiac by 19.6 degrees every year. And we also have the regular solar year of 365.25 days, which could be arrived at by either multiplying 18.618 by 19.618, or 18.618 by 18.618 plus 18.618. The lunar year of 12 lunations is 18.618 by 19, while the lunar year of 13 lunations is 18.618 by 20.618. Because this lunar year has 13 lunations, it's more closely related to the Christ mythos. Here, the sudden addition of the number 20 could be associated with the 20th card of the tarot deck, where we see the child, Horus, the child of Osiris and Isis, with the potential to become Christ-like. In other words, Horus has the potential to transcend into his highest potential. Like the solar Marty, powerful and charismatic, who transforms himself from a lustful teen with only one thing on his mind, into a man that's much more seasoned, respectful, and mature. Or Doc, who's moved himself from a lunar being, driving a lunar vehicle, into a solar being driving a lunar vehicle. And of course, we have the once overly passive and lunar George, who's learned how to gain true power through confidence, willpower, and a strong sense of self-respect. And who, like the archetypal father of the ancient Egyptian tradition, Osiris, has achieved individuation through the alchemical marriage.